Welcome to Catalyst Conversations, the podcast where we spark powerful change in women's wealth. I'm Hadriana Leo, a wealth coach, counselor, and strategist, and each week we dive into the conversations, strategies, and stories that help women confidently create the life they've always dreamed of. So grab your favorite bevy, settle in, and let's get started on transforming your relationship with money. This is Catalyst Conversations, igniting change in women's wealth. Let's spark the conversation. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Catalyst Conversations. I am tickled pink because I get to talk about one of my favorite subjects and how it intersects with the work that I do. So I've got a professional on board who is going to share some interesting insights with you. So I am going to tell you a little bit about her. But first, I'm going to invite Miss Divine Muzia to tell me a little bit about a favorite phrase, a favorite quote, or something that she experiences that really speaks to her. Would you share for us, Divine?
Yes, of course. And first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to
My
be here. And
pleasure.
so I would say a favorite quote of mine. So just a little bit of backstory. I lost my mom recently, about 2 years ago. And so one of the words that resonate with me and I carry day to day is the fact that, and sorry, before I actually go into what she says, just a bit of context, we're also Congolese. So our first language is French, right?
Okay.
So it might make more sense in French, and I'll say it in a second. But what she'll say is, il faut toujours pardonner. Et ça, c'est l'affaire qui est la plus importante.
Ah.
Meaning, in English, you always have to forgive. That's actually one of the most important things.
Right, right. Now that is powerful. Listen, I'll tell you straight. I'm part of a book club right now, and we're reading a book entitled Forgiving What You Cannot Forget. So I am
Yes.
right there with you in this. What about this saying? I mean, my condolences on the passing of your mom, first
Thank
and
you.
foremost. And I'm sure that in and of itself is like a core memory, a core experience for you. What about those words? What about it is speaking to you at this point? What makes these words so important to you right now?
Mhm. Yeah, so my mom was a Christian woman, and so she lived her life as, a Christian, and her values aligned with that. And so
Mhm.
what I found was that, like, growing up, I had a hard time forgiving, right? I held on to grudges, just natural being a teenager, being an early adult, like you don't necessarily know how to navigate certain emotions and the struggles that comes with that, right? And so now being older and reflecting back on those words, I recognize that one, forgiveness is actually for you and forgiveness is healing.
Yeah.
You actually get to release a lot of, like, there is a lot of, I would say, or a lot of authors actually will reflect bitterness as a root, like a poison, right?
Hmm.
And it's a poison that it's not killing the other person, it's killing you.
Yeah, it's suicide.
Exactly. And so forgiveness is literally the remedy, right? And so now as I reflect on those words, it's kind of like, wow, like that was, you know, that's just, amazing in the fact that she was able to share that with me. And I'm just young, I'm just kind of like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't even know what you're saying right now, but okay, like, cool. But now being older, I'm able to resonate more with those words because forgiveness is healing.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I think it does take a level of maturity and probably the intersecting of some life experience, man, for
Yeah.
you to really see how forgiveness is freeing. Because I think our natural instinct is to get back at the person who has hurt us.
Mm, exactly.
But if I may be honest, forgiveness is not an easy task, certainly not in its perfect iteration.
Mm,
And I don't think forgiveness is something that happens at the snap of a finger. I
for
was
sure.
really freed when I realized that forgiving is a process. So
Mm,
I really thank your mom for downloading this
yeah.
brilliant truth on you, even long before you could make any sense of it
Yeah.
or the depth of it. And I'm sure, I'm going to wager that those kinds of inspirational words have some kind of contribution to what you're choosing to do with your life right now. Because in
Mm,
your work is as a therapist, correct?
yeah.
And that, I think that's awesome. No doubt you meet a lot of people in your practice who need help with forgiving.
100%.
A
And it
hundred
might
percent.
not necessarily be forgiving somebody else. It can also be forgiving yourself.
Listen, Divine, we don't have time.
I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
You're taking words right out of my mouth, okay?
Yeah.
Even in my practice, where, well, my work is, well, we need to forgive ourselves, and sometimes that's the biggest hindrance. But this is powerful stuff, very, very powerful stuff. But let me pull it back. Let me pull it
Mm,
back before we go into deep, before we're ready. Let me
yes.
tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you. So I asked Divine to tell me a little bit about herself in her own words. And I'll tell you why I love what she said. She says she is a woman in business who is fun, innovative, creative, determined, and driven. What do I love about that description? Nowhere in there does it say, well, I'm a therapist and I do all of these cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
this, that, and the other, and the CBTs and the TTBs and all the rest. In describing yourself, Divine, you actually shared from the level of your humanness, your
Hmm.
personality, and who you are. This is how you see yourself. Would that be
Yeah.
accurate?
100%. I think my identity is not in what I do, but my identity is in who I am, right? Outside of the labels. So
Yeah,
let's say, for example, God forbid, but let's say if I no longer work and I don't have the capacity to be a therapist, then who am I, right? I'll still
yeah,
have and hold on to who I am and that my identity rather than labels.
yeah. 100%. I've been, I guess I've been on that train since I've been watching my daughters get older and need me
Hmm.
less in direct ways, and having that journey of making sure, and this is something I've been doing throughout my journey, making sure that my identity is not in anything else or any role that I perform, but
Right.
it's centered right here. So I really loved that description. But if I were to go to your
Hmm.
formal bio, let me just read it, okay? So I get it right. I don't want to mess this up.
Go ahead.
Divine Muzia is the clinical director and founder of Elevated Minds Therapy, which is a leading private practice focused on providing specialized therapy and mindset coaching for high performers like athletes, entrepreneurs, and corporate professionals. Divine has all the educational background to make her really good at what she does, but I'd love to know what kind of took you down that path, Divine. I've heard a thread, I've heard one little part of it in the inspiration of your mom. What took you down the path of deciding therapy is where I want to kind of hang my shingle?
I love when people ask me this question because I'll always say, and to be completely transparent, I just stumbled here. And
Uh-huh.
so I'll go back a little bit. So when I was in high school, I remember vividly, like in high school, we didn't have much black professors or black teachers. So there was this black teacher that was a guidance counselor, and she
Mhm.
came from a social worker background. And I'll go and see her just to make sure that my classes are in alignment with what I wanted to do. At the time, I wanted to be a psychologist, so I always
Okay.
had this passion for understanding the brain, and helping people. I'll also say like a big value of mine, and even within our family, helping people is one of our core, I will say, gifts, right? We just
Mhm.
love to help people, and I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things that I wanted to lead my, um I will say, my career in. So I went to go see my guidance counselor. Let's just call her Chantel for the sake of the podcast. So I'm like, hey, Miss Chantel, like, and she was also like fairly young, so I felt like I could connect and relate to her. So I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
Miss Chantel, like, you know, I need your help to get to become a psychologist. So we're trying to align all my courses and like the education and everything that I need in order to become a psychologist. I remember going to the library, renting out books in order to be a psychologist. I didn't necessarily believe that I will get into a university for
Mm.
psychology.
Oh,
So,
wow.
mind you, I'm the first child in my family graduating with a undergrad, right?
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, let's see. Let's apply. If I get in, I get in. If I don't, I
Yes.
don't.
Right.
So I applied for my first year in psych at York University. Once again, I'm ecstatic. I didn't think I'll get into a university,
But you
right? So,
did.
and I did for psych, right? And so I got in, and then afterwards, I remember like it was yesterday, I wasn't necessarily too fond of the subject in regards to psych. I just felt like it was just too broad. It was just too much. And then as I was talking to other people in the field, they were kind of like, yeah, you might need to do your PhD in order to actually be a psychologist and make a good amount of money. And I was like, honestly, I didn't even think I'd get into university. I don't know about this PhD. Okay. So, yeah, that kind of turned me off. And at the same time, I was like, yeah, I don't necessarily want to go to school for 10 years, or for a long time, right?
Right. Mhm.
So I remember like it was yesterday, they started talking about child psychology.
Mhm.
And from there, I was like, oh, I'm more so interested in child psychology in regards to your experiences as a child, how that
Mhm.
can shape you as an adult, right?
Right.
And so afterwards, I'm like, okay, all right, good. Let me focus and lean more in child psychology. I did all my research. I have no idea what I put in Google. I just stumbled upon child and youth care worker at Ryerson University.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't think I'll get in. But hey, here I am. I applied and I get to go to Ryerson. And this was
Uh-huh.
like the grace of God, right? So like, okay, cool. I'm in the program and it was a 4-year program. And I kid you not, this program was for me. So for
Wow.
in this program, I worked as a child and youth worker in different settings. Like I worked in residential settings, I worked in foster homes, group homes, even with people that youth that are in conflict with the law. And
Mhm.
even as I was working with these youth, I was passionate, still am passionate about the work, but I felt like I need to do something more and I need to help them in another level because I'm
Right.
providing them with support, but I'm not necessarily getting to the root of the problem.
Okay.
And so I remember in my, I believe it's third or fourth year. At this point, I said, I'm done with school and
Uh-huh.
I'm willing to graduate with my undergrad and let's just make it what it is. And
Uh-huh.
I thank God for this professor. Once again, there wasn't much black professors um in the uni or in our faculty rather. And I had
Mhm.
one and literally she believed in me. So
Right.
again, I didn't, I said in regards to like my self-doubt in regards to making it into school and being able to go to university, I really struggled in believing in myself, right? And
Right.
then it took that one person to kind of put that spark in my heart. And what happened was this professor, she is stern, like she is this lady. You can't disrespect. You come in her class and you hush, okay?
I have visions of her right now.
Yes. Exactly. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you respect her. Like if she calls on your name, you got to be ready to respond.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I remember like I had a lot of respect for her. And I will say when I remember writing an essay, again, doubting my own skills when it comes to my writing, when it comes to my education pursuit. And she wrote on my essay, Divine, you write really well. Consider doing your master's. And I
Mhm.
didn't look left or right. I said, okay, like if she sees this in me, there's something there. Let me pursue my master's. And she was having a program for Black students to help them pursue higher education, whether it will be for master's or PhD. She literally helped you, and another professor as well, and gave you the resources, the connections necessary in order to get there. So I went to
Wow.
those sessions. She helped me, and I applied for my master's at U of T. Again, I
You
didn't think
got in.
UFT will pick me, but I got into the program. I got
Wow.
into the program and I was able to pursue a master's in social work. And the first year was therapy. And the first year, first semester, I said to myself, wow, this is exactly where I needed to be. This is where we
Wow.
talked about mental health. We talked about the different strategies in order to navigate and overcome certain mental health challenges, right?
Mhm.
And given that at the time, I was giving sessions for free. I
Yeah,
was the
girl.
I was the mental health, I'm not mental health friend, but I was the therapist friend. So I
Yes.
was that friend that people will naturally come and confide in, and I'm just this young girl just spitting something and you're just like, rah, Divine, like, yes, right? So
Yes.
I'm just naturally doing it. And this program actually gave me the foundation of what I was already doing. So,
Yeah.
and the knowledge as well. And so, yeah, as I said, I just stumbled upon a program, but it was a program and an industry that I needed to be in. And now I've
Wow.
grown in different settings due to being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I love it when you find that program that puts the meat and bones on top of what you were already doing intuitively. I
Mm-hmm.
find these to be like the best fit. Like if you have an intuitive leaning towards doing a thing, when you find that program that gives you the knowledge base, gives you the practical essence, the background, the roots and the foundations, now
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing intuitively now takes on some shape and it has some
Exactly.
depth to it, and then you can really practice with confidence, knowing fully well the impact you can have, because you were already having impact. I mean, you were already giving
Yeah.
therapy, right? and
Yeah.
uh, and seeing the results of it in the lives of the people that you interacted with. So I'm really happy that you did all this stumbling, Divine.
Yeah, right?
I'm really
I'm
happy
glad
you
where it took me,
stumbled. Yeah, you
literally.
stumbled along, and you were actually saying or exemplifying something that I say to my clients when they have self-doubt. One of the things I say is borrow until you embody. So you
Mm,
borrow the faith that others have in you. You borrow the truth that others see in you. Even if you can't yet see it for yourself, you lean into that, because if it's someone you trust, someone you know, someone who wants your best, then they will tell you the truth of your gifts and your skills and all the wonderful things they see in you, even if
yeah.
you can't see it in yourself. So, big shout out goes to all of the educators out there that are
Yes.
pouring positivity and support and vision into the people that they are coming across and
Mm.
influencing lives for the better. So, hey, we have Divine, and she is going to tell us all about how she's using this now, because Divine, this is your practice. You focus in the areas of mental wellness and mindset shifts. What do
Mm-hmm.
you see as the difference in these two? In my mind, I mean, I'm not a clinical therapist, I'm not a clinical psychotherapist or anything like that. In my mind, they kind of, more or less facets of the same thing. How do you differentiate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're right. They are very similar, however, they're also different. So when we look at mental health, everybody experiences a mental health concern in some capacity.
Mhm.
Now, when I say this, you might put the gun at me and be like, Divine, I'm a-okay. And if you are, amazing. That's the goal, right? But the thing is with mental health is just like physical health, right? We all experience in some shape or form physical health issues along the way, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be major issues. It can be something as small as like you're getting constant migraines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with mental health, there's a difference between mental health and mental illness, right? These are two
Right.
separate things. And
Okay.
so not everybody experiences a mental illness, but everybody can experience mental health concerns. What this
Right.
can look like is like stress, anxiety, depression, or low mood. It can look like grief, right? Or I guess it will be the symptoms related to grief rather than
Right.
calling grief a mental health concern, right?
Right.
So I would say in terms of mindset coaching looks at the mental obstacles that get in the way of professional or personal growth. So for
Okay.
example, I am somebody who is, as you mentioned in the beginning, I'm determined, I'm driven, I'm ambitious, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I see something, I want to go after it because I I know in some shape or form, I know that I can somewhat do it. But
Right.
then once I'm trying to do it, I might hold myself back. I might be really afraid, or I might
Mm-hmm.
experience imposter syndrome, meaning that, I might question whether I'm adequate or able to actually do it, right? I might feel like
Right.
an imposter. So these are things that might look like mental obstacles that get in the way of your growth. For some people, like I said, it can be cut and clear fear, imposter
Mm.
syndrome, self-doubt. I might really question if I'm actually capable. Though in the back of my head, like I said, I know I'm driven and determined. I know
Yeah.
that I can do certain things. However, there's something at the back of my mind that keeps saying, you can't do it. Can you actually achieve this? If can you actually manage this or manage success or wealth if you were to attain it?
Right.
And so I might hold myself back. And I think the thing about the two are very powerful things because, as you know, investing in your wellness is golden, right?
Golden man.
Like, let me tell you something, and I use this all the time. LeBron James is the GOAT, not because he sits around at home and he has all this skill and ability. He's the GOAT because he invests in himself. He
Yeah.
invests in his mind and in his body in order to be great.
Yeah.
So,
No doubt.
mhm. And so the same is true for us. And in regards to the mindset aspect, you might not necessarily experience a mental health concern. You might not be going through anxiety or depression or other concerns, right? You might just be a-okay, like I mentioned. However,
Mm-hmm.
you're experiencing self-doubt. So that's when we dive deeper into the mindsets that's holding you back, the story it comes from. We dig deep to the root of the problem, right?
Right.
And then we navigate through working through overcoming the root of the problem. And then the last step is elevating into your best self, into the person that you truly are. Because I don't
Mm.
believe that our identity is shaped by self-doubt. These are just things that are just blocking us from showing up as our true identity. So that's
Yeah.
really the goal there.
Yeah, and that just gets in the way. Imagine if the world didn't have us as our best selves. And that's
Mm,
actually for many of us, that's how we face the world, with doubt, with holding back, with hiding,
yeah,
not actually bringing our gifts out to the world who desperately needs that best
right.
self. And I think part of, I mean, this conversation can go a lot of ways, and I'm going to try not to take us too far off tangent. But I honestly feel that fear of failure, especially for our our neck of the woods, for the Black community, fear of failure seems to be one of the biggest holdups to us actually experimenting and trying different things and
Mm,
actually experiencing success. We don't try because we're so afraid to fail. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I imagine
yeah,
that the work you're doing is helping to free people from a lot of the
yeah.
things that are limiting them. What has your experience been when you're looking at the where mindset and money kind of intersect? Because that's my world as a wealth
Mhm.
coach, as a wealth strategist, as a wealth counselor.
Right.
I see a lot of the money side, and my focus is bringing that social mirror to the money side. You focus more on that mental side, but you do have that intersecting element where sometimes people are talking about money, or money showing up either as a symptom or as a source of some sorts
Yeah.
of anxiety. How do you see things shaping their money experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. In regards to money and wellness, they're very much connected, right? Like again, going back to being a Christian, my sister will always say like money is a spiritual thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we can either be stuck in the patterns of of scarcity or be in a pattern of abundance. And this is
Mm-hmm.
all related back to our mindset, right?
Yes.
It influences our money moves and as well as and our finances and as well as our wellness. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say in regards to like my past clients, they might aspire to make, and I'm just going to use an example. They might aspire to make a lot of money. Let's just say they want to achieve $1 million. But
Okay.
it's not to say that they're they don't want to achieve $1 million, but there's a lot of blocks in regard to achieving that $1 million. And it's all in the mindset. So it might
Mhm.
be even in regards to feeling unworthy of having a lot of money because it's just
Yeah.
such an uncomfortable topic or an uncomfortable thing to have, right? So you might think, I'm unworthy of having that $1 million or having a lot of money, or it can even be like, I'm not good with money. So
Yeah.
if you believe, I'm a big believer, your thoughts become things, and your
Hmm.
thoughts literally dictate your behaviors and your actions, right?
Yep.
Subconsciously your mind takes the information that you are saying out of your mouth, takes that, and your behaviors and actions start to mimic what you've said, right?
Yes.
So if I say I'm not good with money, I will not be good with money. My
That's
behaviors are
right.
going to match up to that. And what's going to happen? You're going to be stressed out because you're
Mhm.
always working paycheck to paycheck. You're
Yep.
probably going to be work burnt out because you're constantly trying to make a lot of money. You're trying to do whatever it takes to make a lot of money. But
Yeah.
it's all rooted back to that mindset of, I don't deserve to have a lot of money, or I'm not good to handle or good with money,
Yeah.
right?
And the behavior falls in line to make our thoughts true. So when we're thinking those negative things, we are unconsciously doing the actions that's going to make that
Exactly.
thing you say true. And we
Exactly.
go out of our way to do it. But here's the catch here. And this is something I know you've shared before. Let's use the scenario, let's say, of the person who needs to provide for their family.
Mm-hmm.
Their strategy is, I'm going to work every hour I possibly can because we need the money. And this
Yeah.
person is determined to work and work and work. Any shift that's available, they take it. Any job that's offered, they'll do it. Any contract that comes around for their small business, they're on it. They'll figure it out later on.
Mm.
What is the price? What is the price that we
Mm.
pay when all we're doing is focusing on that next thing, that next thing, the next thing, the next thing? Aren't we suffering?
Yeah, for sure. And it, like, as I said, right? Like, a lot of the decisions that we make in regards to the mindsets that we have with money, it's actually costly in the end, right? So, for example, I always say like burnout costs more than you think. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly, and two things before I get into that, I personally believe that when we continuously chase after something, we don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily stop, right? That thing that we're chasing after, imagine being a bunny trying to chase after sorry, imagine trying to chase after a bunny rather.
Oh,
Every
Lord.
time we're trying to chase after a bunny, it just keeps hopping and keeps hopping away, keeps hopping away. And I believe it's the same thing in regards to the things that we're trying to navigate in our lives and chasing after in our lives. It subconsciously pulls itself away from us because we're not allowing it to come to us. We're trying to
Right.
run after it,
Right.
running the race. And then in the end, we're feeling burnt out. Right.
Yeah.
And in that specific scenario, though, I do really want to say and validate that, it is hard, especially in this economy. Sometimes you might have to do extra things necessary in
Hmm.
that particular season. And that's
Yeah.
completely understandable. If you have responsibilities, bills, and different people that you're trying to take care of, it's understandable if you have to work multiple jobs, right? But
Hmm.
at the
Hmm.
same time, I think the glue here is wellness. You want to be able to prioritize self-care because
Yeah.
burnout costs more than you think, right?
Yeah.
If we're constantly burnt out, constantly exhausted, what might happen? One, we might make impulsive financial decisions. We might book that trip right then and there. I don't even have a
Girl.
budget for it. I don't got the money, but it's gonna be figured
Yep.
out. I'm gonna book that trip, and then
I've been there.
girl, I've been there too. I'm speaking from experience. Like, and then we come back and we're feeling guilty. We're back in that same cycle of perhaps debt, right? And so, rather than having a plan in place for when you are experiencing burnout, which is self-care. When we look
Hmm.
at self-care as an investment rather than luxury, our whole game changes, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we might do multiple jobs, but I have a strategy and plan in place in order to take care of myself so that I can
Yes.
keep going rather than always continuously pouring from an empty cup. And at the same time, God forbid, if you don't give your body what it needs, the rest that it needs, it's going to choose for you. And God
Yep.
forbid that it's going to choose a hospital. And can you
Hmm.
imagine having to pay the hospital bills if you don't have coverage, or even like the ambulance? I still can't believe we got to pay for ambulance. You know what I mean?
Imagine.
Like, these are things that come out of your pocket, and
Yeah.
they continue this drain into debt, and the drain out of your pocket rather than you actually making the amount of money necessary to reach your goal.
Yeah, yeah, I can see the struggle because you're right. We're all trying to live lives. I mean, some of us we're trying to get the basics under control. Others of us we're at the stage where, we're bringing depth and more experiences, perhaps philanthropy and giving back into our financial decision making. And
Hmm.
that takes effort, that takes planning, that takes drive, like you were saying, but it has to be balanced out. So I guess the whole idea here is, as ambitious and driven as we are, we need to invest in our wellness, and that's a
Yeah.
full circle plan. You're going to be well financially, you're going to be well physically, you're going to be well mentally, you're going to be well
Mm.
relationally and in your social interactions. That doesn't mean they're all well all at the same time, all to the same degree, but at least there is intention behind your wellness. And for
Yeah.
me, I think I shared earlier, my therapist, I call her when I need her.
Mm.
Sometimes I need her every day. I just need help to sort through everything going on in
Yes.
here. And she does a beautiful job. Other times I might go months before I reach out. It all depends, but having the resource ready so that you're not trying to find it in a 911 type scenario. It's like having the game plan set. So
Yeah.
I love that idea because burnout does cost more than we realize. And I think when we look at how we're using our energy, we have to look at what we're spending it on, what time,
Mm.
where we're spending our time, where we're putting our energy. And I am a big believer that being well mentally is probably a bigger component to living well and wealthy than
Right.
just accumulating money. So my t-shirt says wealthy on purpose because we're
Yes.
building wealth with intention. We're also building wealth so that it funds the vital purpose, the thing, the raison d'etre that has us here.
Mm.
And I think that is best supported when we are mentally well. So, how do you see mental wellness supporting wealth strategy or money or just that tangible um dollar
Mm.
figures drive? How do you see mental health supporting that?
For sure. So, in regards to mental health, so like as you said, if you are in the thick of, distress, overwhelming emotions, for some they might reach out directly to their therapist, right? And that
Mhm.
is an investment. And
Yes.
as you invest in yourself, in your wellness, that naturally produces into the other areas of your life, right? So,
Hmm.
if I'm pouring into myself, I'm better able to show up for people. I'm better able to show up in the different relationships in my life. I'm better to perform at work, right? Like I
Hmm.
can do different things and responsibilities for myself because I've poured in and invested in myself. Now, there's some others, right? And understandably so. Sometimes when you're in the thick of overwhelming emotions, or if you might be, for example, be experiencing depression, it might be really hard for you to do the basics. It might be
Yes.
really hard for you to take care of yourself and invest in your wellness, right? Where you don't really want to talk to anybody, including a
Yeah.
therapist, because it's just so hard, right?
Yeah.
And I think the problem is when we don't necessarily have a plan in place. For some, they might have a plan, but they're just having a hard time to reach out. But there's some others that they don't have a plan or coping tools at all. And when we
Right.
don't have a plan or coping tools at all, we spend our time, our energy, our time, our resources, even our money in different areas of our lives that are totally unrelated and don't really matter, right? We
Hmm.
might overspend or emotionally spend. We might avoid budgeting or things that might keep us on track, right? We might make impulsive decisions, right? You might book that trip tomorrow and you don't have no
I'm
money for
out.
that trip. You don't even know where you're going to stay. And so, and I completely understand. And so this
Mhm.
is why I reiterate it. You need a wellness plan, right? You need to have strategy in your life so that when you do experience the lows, because you are going to experience the lows, we're humans, right? We can't
Yeah.
always be high. We're going to experience the lows. You want to have a plan in place in order to do that. And so
Yeah.
I would say investing in mental wellness doesn't necessarily have to have a money associated to it. You can invest in mental wellness by spending time journaling. You can
Hmm.
invest in, like, financially investing in a mental health therapist, right? Having those one-on-one sessions. You can invest in yourself by going to the gym. That might require you to have a membership, but that naturally helps you regulate your emotions, right? For some
Hmm.
people, the gym helps. You might
Yeah.
have to invest in different ways. You might have to invest in a community, pouring into people, or putting yourself around people and steering away from isolation. Right? There's
Yeah.
different ways. And when we talk about investing, it doesn't necessarily have to have a monetary value next to it. It just
Hmm.
has to have a valuable tool or resource that pours back into you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'm a big proponent. I think we need to find free ways of getting at least help. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are free resources available that people can take advantage of. Even in my practice, there's credit counseling. If you're dealing with debt, it's free of charge. You go get it. It's not
Yes.
every time that you have to be paying for it. But in all honesty, I'll tell you, since the temperatures have gone down in some spaces and it's not always feasible or desirable to leave the house and go
Mm.
to the gym. So you develop a way of challenging your body and experiencing the same physical exertion that creates that endorphin rush without
Yeah.
having to pay anything. That could be a walk in the park. That could
Yes.
be a hike with your dog. That could be a walk along the shore. I mean, just walking fast in sand multiplies the
Mm-hmm.
intensity of the walk. I don't want people to think that help always comes with a dollar value. It's,
Exactly.
I know that specialized help may come with a dollar value, I know that if you're looking for optimizations and stuff that will move you quickly, it does come with a dollar value because you want that attention and so on. But there are things we can do to help ourselves along the path that
Mm,
will not require a dime. And I want to make sure, like Divine said, there are resources and tools available for everybody who's listening or watching
yes.
this episode. I don't want you to leave here thinking, well, I have no money for tools, so I guess I'm doomed. No, no, no.
No.
Come to see me. Well, don't actually, just make sure you call first. Go for a walk down the road, go for a walk in your neighborhood, or even like we said in serving. But before we wrap this up, Divine, I really want to touch on this one thing that you shared. You shared that confidence, let me make sure I have this right.
Mm,
Confidence is currency.
yeah.
Tell me now, confidence is currency. And I'll say that in my neck of the woods, confidence is the biggest thing I work on. I mean,
Mm,
the root results that most people are looking for in managing their money is confidence. They
mm.
might want to see dollar signs, but they're wanting to be confident. So tell me, in your experience, in your practice, how do you see confidence as currency?
Yeah, so I actually want to reflect it specifically if you're like, um, and I'll give a better example. For example, if you are a entrepreneur, right? So the thing is, sometimes with entrepreneurship, as you said, rather than working multiple jobs, especially in entrepreneurship, you might be waiting around for an opportunity or for money to come in because you don't have a steady income, right?
Mhm.
And from there, you might experience like doubt or different things that might come up, like challenges that might come up for you because you're not making or hitting an amount of money
Right.
necessary. So, in terms of confidence is currency, because sometimes if we experience low confidence, what might happen? You always want to look at if I have certain thoughts in my head, it naturally will relate it to a behavior and an emotion. So
Right.
if I experience low confidence, if I say I'm incapable of making a lot of money, I might shy away and hold myself back, right?
Mm.
Instead of seeking out opportunities that can actually contribute towards an increase of income, I might hold myself back,
Mm.
especially if, for example, like I do a lot of speaking. So if for me, if I hold on to the idea of low confidence, I'm not going to make money. I'm not going to get into the door of speaking engagements that will actually generate currency income, right? So
Right.
the thing is, I would say, especially, and this is specifically for entrepreneurship, right? If we want to reflect it into like day to day, like I work a 9 to 5, I just work a regular job. Sometimes it does require confidence in order to ask for a raise, right? To
Oh yeah.
negotiate your pay.
Mhm.
Hello. Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
require you to use your voice and to stand firm in who you are and what you deserve so that you
Mhm.
can negotiate pay in order to make more money, right? So there's
Yeah.
different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be, let me chase opportunities and chase the next thing. Sometimes you just gotta work on your confidence and your self-esteem, knowing that you are deserving of more and that more is coming out your door. How can I
Yeah.
get more and abundance to come to my door? I have to use my mouth. I probably have to
Mhm.
seek out opportunities and pitch myself. Or I might have to put myself out there so that people can know who I am and they'll connect with me, right? So
Yeah.
that's how what I mean in terms of confidence is currency. And I would say confidence also builds trust, right? It builds credibility. You're sometimes you might not necessarily like there's opportunities and open doors that'll happen for you, but sometimes it doesn't come with money. It's just an
Yeah.
opportunity, which is still
Yeah.
as important and still as good. However, the confidence that you carry builds trust and credibility. I will have a very hard time to confide in somebody that struggles with believing that they're capable to do their job. Like
Mm.
9 times out of 10, I'm not going to seek out services with some, I'm not going to go to a doctor that questions their ability to be a doctor. We all
Oh boy.
experience, self-doubt in some way, shape, or form, and imposter syndrome, which is completely natural. But if that is your core and the way that you come in to the room, I might actually walk away. I'm not gonna lean in to who you are, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Confidence is currency. Confidence is what's going to open the door for you. If you
Mhm.
believe in yourself, or if others believe in you, that will help you to take bold moves and reach higher heights and get to the next level. That
Yeah.
opens doors, right? That's what helps in regards to your wealth.
Yeah, especially when your purpose, where when the way you're serving the world is in by giving of yourself, if you're not confident, the world is missing out. So many, I mean,
Yeah,
most of our viewers and listeners of this podcast are women. So we know we see imposter syndrome manifesting disproportionately in
for sure.
disproportionately large amounts with women. Not exclusively, but definitely much, much more prevalent with women. Um, Most of us, many of us, feel the need to serve and to nurture and to build up, but when we lack the confidence to get out there and deliver our service, we're not able to have a full manifestation of our purpose. We're not able to
Yeah.
actually have that self fulfillment because it's a feedback loop, right? As we
Mm,
serve, we get reaffirmed, and that fuels us to serve more, and that we get reaffirmed. So it's for me, it's an amazing thing when you wear confidence, because I like to think of it as wearing confidence. It steps into
yeah,
the room before you even open your mouth. And when
exactly.
people can see that, they are drawn to discover what it is
Exactly.
that you have to deliver. So I'm right there with you. I definitely see how confidence can be currency, and like you said, doesn't always have a dollar figure attached to it, but sometimes what you need is someone to speak your name when you're not in the room. That has value.
Exactly.
It's not only money that has value, right?
Exactly.
And then exploring these opportunities with others. If you were to recommend a confidence building exercise, I mean, we're not asking you to do therapy right now, but just in your practice, how do you help your clients who might be showing symptoms of, a lack of confidence to build that up?
Yeah, so there's many different ways and strategies that I'll work with clients. I will give you two gems right now.
Okay.
So, one being that you want to look or keep an inventory of your wins. Sometimes, especially if you are a goal getter, you're ambitious, you're driven, determined, you can do, but you have a hard time reflecting and resonating with what you've already done. So, this can
Mm-hmm.
also keep you questioning yourself. You'll always be in a pattern of not necessarily knowing that you are capable or good enough because you're not keeping an account or an inventory rather of the wins that you have. And you also want to celebrate those small wins. It doesn't have to be a big
Yes.
win, it can be a very small. Celebrate that, right? And that's again reinforcing something. You're speaking that into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, secondly, the next thing, one of the biggest things actually, in order to produce confidence, is having affirmations. So the thing is with affirmations is that I'm very, I would say, intentional and strategic with the words that I use and want to speak over myself because
Mm-hmm.
words are powerful, one. And two, with affirmations, we see so many online,
Right.
but we might see all of these affirmations online that sound good and look good, but are not relate, like they don't resonate with our core challenges. So you
Right.
want to write affirmations that relate and resonate with your core challenge. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, if I have a hard time with my confidence with speaking publicly, an affirmation I can repeat over myself is, I speak very well. I speak very
Right.
clearly. Even when it comes to with money, right? And abundance. Like if you keep thinking that you're not good with money, that's exactly the result that you're going to get. So it's having to
Right.
twist that around and say, I'm actually good with money. I'm
Hmm.
confident with money. I am confident and I love being confident. I'm
Right.
able to walk in any room confidently because that is who I am. Do you see
Yes.
how that's different than just having a just generic affirmation that is just out there? You want to make it
Yeah.
personal. And so this is uncomfortable though, but so powerful because the thing is with affirmations, they look good and they sound good, but once we repeat them over ourselves, initially it might feel very uncomfortable. Secondly, we might not see the fruit or the results just then and there. But if we
Hmm.
keep that momentum going, if we keep that consistency, then you will see at some point, bruh, actually, yes, I am confident and I am
Yeah.
able to show up in any room. And
Yes.
one of my therapists, what she will say is that sometimes with our thoughts and our patterns and our mind, it can be like if you imagine a very tall grass, and that grass hasn't been cut, hasn't been trained in years. Like your
Hmm.
lawn is tall, it's tough, it has
Is
weeds,
that's bush.
it has bush. Yes, exactly. But when you go over that lawn, you can't go over that once. You might have to go back and forth for some time until it gets really low, right? And that's the
Hmm.
same thing with our thoughts. You have to repeat it constantly so that it's registered and it's like, ah, actually, yes, I am confident and I am able to walk in any room because that is who I am.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is mental wellness takes practice.
It does. Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it does. I was presenting to a group, I think that was last week, and someone asked a question about, when did I finally overcome something that I had shared? And I laughed. I'm like, girl, I still am challenged because
Mm,
the things that challenge us, they don't just magically go away and get erased. They don't
yeah.
just disappear. As we face new challenges, and they might look a little different, but a lot of times they are just variations on the same theme. So
Yeah.
in certain spaces, yes, you're confident, but put you in another space, you might not, you might feel a little out of sorts because things might
Of
look different.
course.
Our mental wellness takes practice because we will always be faced with some challenge. I believe that's part of us becoming. But I also think it's part of us, reinforcing our self-care muscles, helping
Mm,
us get stronger and do better. So why not? Let's go for another round. I mean, we're
yes.
I can say that sometimes the mental wellness challenges really beat you down. Like you don't even want to, like you were sharing before. I know in my personal experiences, there are times when I'm like, Lord, no more. Like,
Mm,
no more.
mm-hmm.
I please no more. And then these are the times when you need to just be able to reach for that practice or reach for that resource, not have to decide, who do I call? You just need to be able to, like, speed dial almost, just
Yeah.
hit a thing and find that support system that will benefit you. Divine, this has been so rich. And I know we didn't even go half as deep as we could go today. I'd love to have you back for us to dive more, because a lot of your work is centered on high achievers, even athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to talk more about, the specialty that's involved in working with these specific clients. When you're working with people who are so driven, so focused,
Yes.
how do you assist them and actually help them, take it easy a little bit, it's okay, relax, it's fine.
Yes.
But I'd love to have you back. We can dive into that and to explore. But in the meantime, please tell us where we can find you in those internet streets. Give us all of the places.
Yes, for sure. So you can find me directly on social media. So for my Instagram and LinkedIn, it is my first name and last name, which is Divine Muzia. And then you can also catch me on my website, which is elevatedmindstherapy.ca. I believe I am. Oh, yes, we're also on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook, which is also Elevated Minds Therapy.
Very nice. All right. So, any last words? Anything you want to share as a takeaway, a key message that you'd love for if they've forgotten everything we've talked about before? What
Mm.
would you like to share?
I'll say invest in yourself. And
Mm.
investing in yourself doesn't have to have a money value next to it. It is just tools and strategies, behaviors that you might have to do in order to pour into yourself so that you can show up in a different responsibilities, roles in your life, and as well as pour in other people.
Yes, loving it. Divine, thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this for us. Your insights, anybody that gets my mind going and shifting gears, I really enjoy. And I welcome you to come again. Until next time,
Yes.
thank you for thank you for being here and for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I love to come back as well.
Yes, I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen. So, to everyone viewing, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Catalyst Conversations, where we're sparking change in women's wealth. Be sure to check out the description. You'll find all of Divine's contact information, as well as access to free resources and tools that you can make use of to help you along your path to wealth. Remember, wealth is wellness. So go out there and do the best you can with what you've been given and create wealth on purpose. Until next time, cheers. Thank you for joining me today on Catalyst Conversations. I hope this episode sparked something powerful to help on your journey to building wealth confidently and unapologetically. If you loved today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if something resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep moving toward your goals, stay empowered, and continue sparking change on your wealth journey. This is Hadriana, and you've been listening to Catalyst Conversations.